Hello everyone and welcome to another time-lapse video. My name is Jen, and if you are new here, then thank you so much for deciding to drop by today to my little YouTube channel. And I feel like it has been a minute since I've made a time-lapse video for you guys. Besides the 24-hour bracelet challenge, that whole video was basically just a bunch of time lapses put together. But this time lapse is a little different. It took me months to make, literally months to finish, because I kept putting it off and just doing a little bit at a time. But here we are. I'm so excited to finally be making this video for you guys. It felt like this day would never come. And if you follow me on Instagram, then you will know that I started this wall hanging in August of 2020. So it has literally been like half a year that I've been working on this, but I recorded the whole process for you guys, and a lot of you guys were sending me your questions on Instagram, sending me messages, so I thought it would be kind of cool to do a little voiceover for this time lapse and talk about some of the questions you guys had and talk about my experience making this ginormous wall hanging. And yeah, let's just jump into it. Let's go. So the number one question I got when I was posting about this wall hanging is what pattern number it was, or where did I find the pattern. And I actually found this pattern on Etsy from a shop called Harp Cross Stitch. And they have so many cute patterns to choose from. I will leave all of their information in the description below. Yeah, and I bought the pattern from them for a couple dollars. I actually bought like 5. There are just so many good ones, like I just said. And this is just the one I decided to make first. And it obviously took me a lot longer than expected, but it's just such a beautiful pattern. I was instantly drawn to it. And I actually look at cross stitch patterns a lot when I'm looking for inspiration for wall hangings. Sometimes I get bored of like making bracelets, and I just like want to branch out and find different patterns, and just scrolling through Etsy and Pinterest are great ways to find other unique patterns. So like I said, I will list all of their information in the description below if you would like to make this pattern for yourself. Another question I got a lot was how many bass strings is this pattern? And the original pattern had 100 columns along the top, and I added an extra 2 columns, so it has 102 bass strings and 130 rows. So if you do the math, that's over 13,000 knots to create this tapestry. And to put that into a little bit of perspective for you, the wall hangings that I'm used to making are like 2,500, and this one's 13,000. So it's way bigger than anything I've ever made. Well, actually, I did make a link wall hanging, I guess you could call it. It wasn't really a wall hanging, but I did make like this link piece from The Legend of Zelda, and it was a really, really big piece, but it wasn't quite this big. So this is definitely the biggest pattern I've ever made. Now, when it comes to duration of time it took me to finish this, that is kind of up for debate a little bit. I didn't actually like time the entire thing from start to finish, but sometimes I would just kind of take note of how long it took me to finish a certain row. And obviously, where there's not as many color switches, it wouldn't take me as long to finish a row. It would take me like 15 to 20 minutes to finish a row. But then when we get into the more complicated sections where there's a lot of color switches, like every 3 knots, there's a color switch. Those rows took me closer to 35 to 40 minutes to do. So I kind of just averaged it out for how long it took me, and it came out to about 65 hours, which is kind of crazy to think about. And yeah, that's why it took me so long to do. And here's the other thing too. I wasn't working on it every single day. Like, as you can see, I was just literally taping it to my desk to work on. So if I wanted to use my desk, I had to take it all down, put it away, store it in a nice, safe, clean area. And then if I wanted to work on it, I had to set it all up again, and then set up my tripod, and then set up my camera. Like, it's a lot of setup. And so I wasn't exactly doing it every day, but you know what? It was a tall order, and we finally got there. So that's all that matters. I don't know. Sometimes I find recording just like really daunting, and it slows down my process a lot. But at the end of the day, I am so glad that I did record everything, because I think this video turned out really well. Even though it is kind of long, I am really excited and happy with the end result. I honestly just really enjoy making these time-lapse videos, so hopefully you guys do too. But yeah, I definitely think that the most challenging part of this whole wall hanging was just finding the time and the patience to just sit down and do it, and also just setting up my phone to record every single time I wanted to work on it. It was just kind of draining after a while. That was definitely the most challenging part, which I guess kind of leads to the next question I received, which is, how did you have the patience to make this? And honestly, I don't know. I just kind of did it. I just kind of sat down and did it. I didn't think about it. I didn't think about all the color changes. I just put on a show or a YouTube video and just forced myself to do it. And like I said, I didn't just sit down and do this all in one day. Like, there's no way anybody could do that. Yeah, no, I worked on this over the course of many months. So I don't know if that's patience or just strategy. Yeah, it took a long time. Another question I received on Instagram is, what brand of yarn did I use for the bass strings? And I actually don't use yarn for the bass strings. I use DMC Pearl Cotton size 5. And those are the skeins that you see like hanging up in Michael's that are all like twisty. And I know a few other knotters in the bracelet community use Aunt Lydia's size 10 because you can buy it in bulk, basically. It just looks like a big ball of string, and you can buy it for like $3 or $4 from Walmart or something like that. I've never actually used Aunt Lydia's, but I know it is kind of like a cheaper option than using the pearl cotton. But I actually have like a huge collection of the DMC Pearl Cotton because that's all I used to knot with. I just hated embroidery floss for so long, and I have no idea why. I don't think I was very good at knotting back then, and the DMC embroidery floss was like really fragile, and I was just tying my knots way too tight. But now I use embroidery floss like exclusively when I'm creating the pattern. And now I just use all the pearl cotton for the bass strings. And I just find it holds up really well, especially when I'm doing 130 rows and just pushing up all these knots on the bass strings over and over and over again. You just definitely want a thicker string so they don't snap on you, because that would definitely not be good. That would suck. So yeah, DMC Pearl Cotton size 5 for the bass strings, and DMC embroidery floss to make the actual pattern, so for all of my leading strings. And of course I just used like a craft dowel that I got from Walmart just to attach all of my bass strings to. And if you want to know how I did that, I do have a video that I made a while ago. I will leave it in the description below. You can check it out, and you can also learn how to make wall hangings with the alpha pattern technique. And it was around this point in the wall hanging where I decided I was no longer going to be putting it away. I was just going to keep it out all the time, and I was like, this is going to motivate me to finish it more quickly, but sometimes it just made me want to look at it even less. But I will say it got the job done, I guess, because now the office is clean and my workspace is the way it should be, and there's nothing taped to my desk anymore, and it's a great feeling. So maybe that's another way you can motivate yourself to finish big projects like this. But it also kind of sucked, I'm not gonna lie. It was a disaster in here. And this is honestly my favorite part of the time lapse, and this is where we are going to finish off the Luna Moth. Oh, look at that. That is so wonderful to my eyes and to my brain and my fingers. No more green. We're done with that. And the Luna Moth is done. She's gorgeous. She has emerged from her cocoon. I was so excited when I finally finished the moth. Now, I will say another challenge that I did face while making this was keeping my rows straight. And this always happens to me, and it might be because I don't really do the flat alpha technique. I just do like the regular color changes. And I always find that my rows start to slant down to the right a little bit. And I try and use my ruler to like push it back up, and I'm always like manipulating the knots with my hands and my fingers and my thumbs to try and move them. And I think I did a relatively good job at making sure the rows were straight, but there definitely was a challenge in keeping that whole row across just straight, as so everything still looks symmetrical. I was really worried that when I hung it up that it would kind of look crooked and that those little purple ferns wouldn't line up properly. But you know what? We made it, and I think we did a great job. And by we, I mean me, because I'm actually really proud of myself for setting out to do something big and finishing it. So I'm just gonna pat myself on the back for that one. And I did put a little poll on my Instagram story asking you guys how you thought I should finish this wall hanging, how I should tie off the bass strings. And even though you guys didn't vote for this at the end of the day, I just decided to let all the bass strings just hang like I normally do. I don't know, I just thought it looked kind of nice and it just gives a nice weight to the wall hanging. I don't know. So now I'm just tying up the back, cutting off all the excess string and adding that little hanging string as well. And of course, just giving that fringe a little bit of a trim. Oh, hi, it's me. So here's the finished product. And needless to say, I am extremely happy with the way it turned out. And this is what I was talking about with the bass strings, by the way. I just kind of let them hang. And look how big this is. This is like, it won't even fit in the frame. So like I said earlier, this is definitely the biggest wall hanging I've ever made. And it turned out to be 6.5 inches by 8 inches for the actual pattern itself. But for the entire wall hanging from the hanging point all the way down to the end of the bass strings, end of the fringe, it's about 28 inches long. And honestly, I'm just so glad that I am finished this. And I don't know when I'll start another big wall hanging like this, but I probably will. So let me know what you guys think of this wall hanging down in the comments. If you like it, if you think I should have done something a little different, how you would have done it. And if you have any tips or tricks for huge wall hangings like this, then leave them down below. Okay, I'm gonna set this down because my arm is getting very tired. Heavier than it looks. All right, guys, that is all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a little bit different than the videos I normally make. I don't normally do voiceovers over my time lapses, but let me know what you guys think, if you enjoyed it, or if you would just rather me put some music over it and you would just rather not listen to me talk, let me know. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. My goal for March was to hit 800 subscribers, and I know it's the last day of March, but I'm optimistic that we can still get there. And be sure to follow me on Instagram so you can see some sneak peeks of pieces like this one here. You can send me your questions, send me your messages, or you can always just leave a comment on any of my YouTube videos. And I think I'm going to go sit out on my porch and enjoy some sunshine before the day is over. I'm going to drink some water, and I'm going to take a little break from knotting. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!